Hello. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Hello to Monster Slurpee and Adam Fishkin and HJ Fires and Aaron Big was here earlier. And Diamond Lock Productions, hey, and Geargasm. How is everybody? Let me switch over to the scene over here. If Streamlabs will work for me. There we go. You can hear me? Excellent. Let's hope we don't have any technical difficulties, although that's always like a high demand with my streams. So how is everybody? My month has been quite a month and a half. First and foremost, my mother had surgery, which she's recovering from, and that's been that's fine. She's doing well, but I've been so busy as a result. So that's one thing. And the other thing I mentioned in my community tab is that shortly after, actually the same week my mother had her surgery, I was hired by my studio to work on a movie. So, so between my mother and working on a movie, I have been extremely busy. And in the meantime, I actually bought myself a PC on Thursday, which I haven't set up yet. I couldn't set it up during the week because I was working, and I thought about setting it up today, but then I realized it would then take over the desk, and I don't think it's a good idea to try and set up a PC and try and stream from it like a few hours later without making sure the entire thing works. So I'm going to set it up tomorrow. So how is everyone? Hey Dana. Hectic day. My apartment building got a new dryer in 10-ish minutes. Find out whether it's destroying my clothes or not. Oh yeah, absolutely. Hey Roz. When you're moving to Hollywood, I'm an NDA, so I can't give too many details. It's not a Hollywood movie though, I will say that. But that's very exciting. I've never worked on a movie before. That's a new one on me. So the quality demand is quite high. And not that our previous work was not high quality demand, but as you can imagine, because this is a film, there is a certain like quality level that they want us to hit. So they are extremely pedantic with everything that's not absolutely perfect in a scene. So I've had a few corrections, which is fine. Everybody gets corrections, but I hate corrections. They waste so much time. Because with me and corrections, it's always like, oh no, the deadline. But it's been fun so far. And I have to set up my new PC tomorrow, and I just hope that I can get everything working tomorrow so that by Monday I can get back to work and I don't run into like any software conflicts or anything like that. I'm very terrified that that's going to happen. And then I'll have to be like, hey, I might have to take the day off just while I sort out my PC, but we'll see. Before I get any further into just chatting, I have absolutely no idea who we're drawing today. I also think it's going to be a bit of a shorter stream just because, as I said, I'm so busy. I'm so busy like all of the time at the moment. So a shorter stream today, but hopefully we still enjoy. I see the audience is a little small this time around. I don't know. What game was released this weekend? What game released this weekend? That's affecting the audience size, because I don't know why I have that timing, but there it is. I went to the mall and saw an indie game that Steam sells for $15, and they were selling on the Switch for $40. It made me so livid. I just went home and didn't buy anything at the mall. Doom. Do you know how long it would take me to try and draw like Doom guy? It would take like an age, because there's like the helmet and like the very geometric items. It would take so long. Otherwise, I'm still working on the Velma video. Literally, I've got 5 minutes of footage left that needs editing. And I keep telling myself, okay, I'll get to it on a day where I finish my scene for the movie early, and then I'll finish editing on that. And so far, that has just not happened. What are we drawing here? I don't know. I'm waiting for chat to do the work for me and give me ideas. Maru the cat. Which one's Maru again? I'm terrible. I always say this. I'm terrible with names. And there are so many like internet cats out there. There are so many of them. My suggestion is a tie between Guts from Berserk or Gon from Hunter x Hunter. I might be able to do Gon. That shouldn't be too difficult. I'll just have to get some like reference images for that. Am I still planning to review Meta Runner? I don't know if I ever said I was going to review Meta Runner. I'm not entirely sure what that is. C-Puff's avatar building a PC. I mean, we can try. I just draw the PC as like a box and like me just like screaming because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm at work since it's month's end. I'm an accountant, so month end is hell for me. Oh, yeah, I feel that. Also, there goes my connection telling me I am getting poor connection, so that's great for me. Maybe I'm gonna have to do what I did last time, and then instead of seeing the chat on my phone, I might just have to bring it up just like on my laptop so I can see everybody. How's me and my family? We're doing good. Like I said, I'm just so busy. I'm so busy at the moment. Somebody said Gon. Are we okay with Gon? Are we cool with Gon from Hunter x Hunter? I never know. Is it Hunter Hunter or is it Hunter x Hunter? Might I suggest Biker Peach from Mario Kart World to celebrate the release of the Switch 2? I loved the last Peach you did. We can also do that. We can do Biker Peach. I'm not sure whether we should be like, yay, Switch 2, because of all the nonsense that the Switch 2 has been pulling. I do not know who this Gon is. It's the main character from Hunter x Hunter. And Hunter x Hunter is a shonen anime, but it's kind of also a deconstruction of a shonen anime, if that makes sense. The creator of Hunter x Hunter, he did Yu Yu Hakusho before he did Hunter x Hunter, and he's actually married to Naoko Takeuchi, who did Sailor Moon. So that's who Gon is. I got quite far into the series' first season, but then I put it down like so many things, and I still need to get back to it. Like, again, so many things that I get into. Let me grab some research. Let me grab some reference image. Just because I always get like, you'd think with me doing this, I would be better prepared. But I'm always like, I can't just sit here and wait for like 8 minutes for us to decide on who to draw. And yet I never come into these things with like a plan on who to draw, because I always feel, well, it should be like a collaborative thing with the audience, right? And now it's buffering. Fantastic. Okay, there we go. Great. Hey there, C-Puff. It is hot in South America. Is it hot in South Africa? I'm melting here in North Mexico. Not at all. It is quite cold because we're going into winter. It hasn't been as cold as it could be, but it is still cold. I mean, I'm sitting here in like a something fluffy just because I can't sit around in a t-shirt anymore. Yeah, we can use this reference, I think, because you can kind of see his outfit. So copy this image, paste it here. There we go. And go back to YouTube. Where are you guys? Here, there you are. I'm thinking possibly Donkey Kong because of Donkey Kong Bonanza. Maybe we should do that as well. Also because I'm like listening to DK music while I'm drawing. So that's also an option. Let's grab some Donkey Kong as well. Maybe that would be better as well, because I can't really do a long stream today. So I think Donkey Kong might be a little bit easier. Donkey Kong Bonanza is what it's called. Bonanza. There we go. As far as I know, Hunter x Hunter is basically My Hero Academia before My Hero Academia was a thing. Kind of, but not really. Because as I said, Hunter x Hunter, the entire thing with it is all these like shonen tropes that were started by Dragon Ball Z of like getting more powerful and becoming stronger and etc. is then in Hunter x Hunter framed as like a negative. I would say that Hunter x Hunter is more Mob Psycho 100 before Mob Psycho 100 was a thing. Like I think that's more No, the wrong layer. I think that's a closer example than My Hero Academia, because My Hero Academia is actually pretty stock standard for a shonen anime. Let me see, what do I want him doing? This is quite a dynamic pose. I wonder if I can find something else that's not as dynamic, because it means it's easier to reference. Also, I think Donkey Kong would be cool because Donkey Kong is really popular. A lot of people really like him. Yeah, we'll grab this one. Here he... Oh, not link. Image. Copy image. Here he is with a bunch of banana PNGs, so... we can do that. Because then I can draw him, like, in a different pose, whereas this one is very dynamic. So I can check it for like the head shape and stuff, but it's difficult to determine like the actual body shape because just the pose is so dynamic. So he kind of has like a teardrop face, and then he doesn't really have a neck like at all. Hey, what's up? It's me. Hey, da boy. How you doing? So it's got like there, and then he's got like his face like that, and then he's got his ears kind of there, and then he has his head goes like that, and then he has his hair that does that. Oh, I know what I can have him do. Just have him sit like this. He's kind of like a Dorito. He doesn't even really have a separation between like his chest cavity and his like abdomen. It's just kind of like all one big Dorito shape. Do that. I'm actually going to make him a little smaller for what I want to do. The other thing is, working on scenes the whole time, I've had such a craving to draw, especially because I started my Dirge run in Baldur's Gate 3, and I really like the Dirge run so far. It's so good and interesting. I really like Tav. I've only played Tav before, and it's very interesting, and I'm happy I played Tav first, but Dirge just gives so much more like dimension to the entire game and all the characters in it. And so I've really wanted to draw some Dirge fan art, but I'm just so busy with the movie specifically that I just have not had time to draw anything for myself either. So I don't know how long it's been since I drew anything. Do that. So his arms are like, his hands have to be bigger because he's like 90% arm, quite frankly. There we go. Like this, like that. Like that. And his feet can be here. He's kind of rubber hose, but not really. Like, his body proportions seem more cartoony than they do like actually any solid structure. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have like a whole bunch of bananas that he's sitting on. Sitting like on a throne of bananas. Which I might fudge that and not draw every single individual banana, but that's what we'll do. There we go. But yes, very excited for the movie. I hope that, because I haven't seen the whole thing, obviously. I've only seen it in parts, in scenes. So I hope as a cohesive story, it's a good movie. I like the subject matter. I think it's an interesting thing to make a movie about. So that's quite no, thumbs are behind his head. So that's quite cool. And I'm excited about that. But I hope that the thing as a whole is quite good. And then, yeah, I'm going to give him like this smile like this. Might have to make his chin a little bit bigger. And then he's got like this. And, yeah, he's got his nose here. Yeah, kind of like that. Maybe I'll make like his chest a little bit bigger. But the thing is, I don't want to like break this line here because I've got quite a nice line going here. And I've got quite a nice line going here. So I don't want to break it by expanding him too much. Maybe I must bring this out then a little. There we go. I think that works. Bring this down a bit. Here we go. A banana slammer. One of my favorite videos is the one where Vinny from Vine Source is reacting to all the songs from the Donkey Kong cartoon. That's like, it's such a great video because he's watching them completely out of context, and because he himself is a singer and guitar player, he's like blown away by how good the music is. And it's like this really silly like Donkey Kong cartoon. Hey HJ Fires. Also, if we finished DK a little early, I was watching last month's stream and we were talking about doing Daffy Duck also. Maybe that's something we could do if we finish DK early. Yeah, maybe. If we finish DK early, we can do Daffy Duck. I haven't drawn Daffy in such a long time. So, do it this way. I'm doing his mouth first because I see that because it's so big, it kind of determines the shape of his muzzle. So I don't want to draw the muzzle first because I think I would then have to like really adjust it a few times to really fit the mouth. So I'd rather draw the mouth first and then deal with the muzzle afterwards, which isn't like, probably not the best way to go about things. But I can kind of just see it working more in my favor here. But yes, gone from Hunter x Hunter. If you are like interested in shonen anime, I actually do recommend Hunter x Hunter or Hunter x Hunter, whichever you prefer, because it is really, really fascinating. And again, because I forget the man's name, but because the author for Hunter x Hunter, I feel being married to Naoko Takeuchi, they kind of are on a similar wavelength, because even though Sailor Moon is like the blueprint for a magical girl show that focuses on fighting bad guys, it's still somehow also a deconstruction of the magical girl shows that followed after it. Like, I feel Sailor Moon and magical girls in general, apart from like Madoka Magica, they tended to fall into a very strict formula after Sailor Moon, whereas Sailor Moon was a breaking away of a formula that existed in the first place. Because before Sailor Moon, the magical girl genre was primarily girls becoming pop idols, which is fine. I mean, one of my favorite other magical girl anime besides Sailor Moon is Full Moon no Sagashite, and that's literally about becoming a pop idol. But I feel that since then, magical girl shows have kind of gone back to that kind of concept to a certain degree, whereas Sailor Moon was quite a deconstruction and a breakaway from a genre trope which didn't exist yet. And I feel like Hunter x Hunter might be similar, even though Hunter x Hunter is a deconstruction of shonen tropes which did exist at the time, because I think it was also started in the 90s, specifically like Dragon Ball Z and such. It's also kind of a deconstruction of shonen that came afterwards, like My Hero Academia. Very, very interesting. Hunter x Hunter, the 2012 version or the 90s version? Probably the 2012 version, just because it's more complete. I prefer like the look of the 90s version, but I haven't watched it, so I can't speak of its quality. But I do know that it only had like one season, I think. And it's a very, very small vertical cut of the show as a whole, so it's better to do the 2012 series just because it's a more complete look at the series as a whole. I've actually been craving and like watching a good anime recently. I thought about going back and watching the second and third movie of Gundam, because I've watched the first one and I was like, you know what, I need to go and actually like watch the second and third movie as well, because I didn't get back to that and I really, really want to. And I've been craving like a good anime again, so I was thinking of like getting back to that. Good afternoon, Miss Seapuff, that's me. Hope all is well. Yeah, things are okay. Just very busy, like I said. My mother's surgery went well. I'm running around helping her a lot, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means I'm very busy. I feel like once I start getting into anime, Sailor Moon is the first thing I'm watching. It sounds like it's very beloved by anybody who talks about it. I really, really like Sailor Moon, but I also can't speak as to whether it's nostalgia or not. That being said, I only saw it. Well, no, that's not true. I saw the TV series when I was like 22, but I got one of the movies on DVD when I was like 13 or 12. So it might be nostalgia speaking. However, if I were to look at it with an analytical eye, I do think it is a well-formed story. I think it is a very well-told story. And I have a great attachment to the later seasons when Naoko started going into like very deep philosophical questions about the nature of good and evil. Like when it starts going in that direction, I really like it. But I also think I prefer the anime to the manga because the anime was done by Ikuhara, who did Revolutionary Girl Utena, which is my favorite anime ever. So, you know, that's also that's also a thing. But as you can hear, it's got like massive, it's got like a stack of biases in its favor as far as I'm concerned. So it's like, I like it, I like Ikuhara, you know, there's a lot to where it appeals to me specifically. So I'm just glad it has a good reputation because it's like, oh, okay, so it's not just me being biased. It is actually just considered a good show. Because there are some things where I can't say that it's good. It appeals to me in such a specific way that I am legally obligated to like it, basically. Now, when DK closes his eyes, does he do the cartoony thing where they have like the eyeball and then they do that, right? They don't have like the eyeball disappear because that wouldn't really make sense. I was asking chat, but as I was saying it out loud, I kind of answered my own question. My first magical girl show was actually Card Captor. Oh, sorry, hiccup. Card Captor I need to get back to. You hear me say this so often. Card Captor Sakura, I think I got like 50 episodes in. I have to go back to it. It is, I don't want to say much more approachable because that makes it sound like Sailor Moon is difficult to approach and it's not really. But I do find that Card Captor Sakura is probably more in line of what people would expect from a magical girl show than Sailor Moon is, hilariously enough. That doesn't mean it's bad though, because I think Card Captor Sakura is like the absolute perfect execution of what a traditional magical girl show is like, if that makes sense. Like it pulls off exactly what a magical girl show is, but it does so in a way where it does it remarkably well. So it becomes like something to refer to when somebody asks like, okay, well, what is a magical girl show about, or what is one like? I would probably point to Card Captor Sakura before I point to Sailor Moon, because Sailor Moon kind of goes off the rails in the finals in the last few seasons in a way that I love, but will not prepare the person asking for other magical girl shows, just because Sailor Moon is wild, especially later on. You see how my signal is doing. Are we still in poor? We are, but I mean, we seem to be handling it okay, so it's fine. And hey, the viewership picked up. Yay, I'm so glad. It's difficult, right? Because it's not so much I want attention, I want people to watch me, but your viewership, I always kind of judge it by how well I am doing as a presenter. So when the viewership is low, I'm like, oh geez, what did I do wrong? But then also I'm like, okay, what video game came out? Because I'll never forget the one day I started streaming and people were like, you realize Baldur's Gate 3 came out today? It was really funny, actually. Yeah, see, this looks right. And then he's got like really big ears. Do they like his fists in the way here? Wait, let's check here. Okay, so they just kind of sit there, and he does have a little bit of jaw underneath the ear as well. Okay, cool. So this goes here. This kind of follows there, and this goes here, and then that goes kind of here, like this, and then the ear can go there. I'll give him that ear there, yeah, and then we give him the hair there. Okay, this is working out. Adds Card Captor Sakura to the list. Yeah, it's really good. Again, it's just a really, really well executed magical girl show. and it's by Clamp. And it's weird that it's like such a perfect example of what a Magical Girl show is, because Clamp are renowned for taking concepts and doing like really weird things with it. Because Clamp is also, they were the people behind Chobbits, and they were involved with Lelouch of the Rebellion, Code Geass, but I know that that's a little odd, like how they were involved, and I need to like double check how were they involved with the writing, because I know it's a little odd there. But they also did a bunch of things, like they did Angel Sanctuary and X, and a bunch of things. Like their way of handling stories is quite different. And they did Magic Knight Rayoth, but that was like their very first excursion, so I don't really always count somebody's very first project as being a good example of what their work is like, unless it's like a seminal work where it just kind of informs everything else that comes after it. Kind of like, I guess, Ikuhara, even though he did do work before Utena, but I feel like Utena was like his first big, this is who I am as an anime director show. Me personally, whenever there's a YouTuber who can stream regularly, I try to show up as often as I can unless something comes up. I usually just try to remember what day of the week, month they stream. Yeah, I don't actually watch streams too often, but I want to get more into it. Especially because Dana, who's in chat, she streams, and I really enjoy watching her streams. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should watch other people's streams instead of just checking out their VODs, because maybe it's more fun than I thought it would be. Because my whole thing is having to like show up live, but that might just be like a bad misconception on my part. Let me just check. Am I doing this right? So it goes down there. His body goes there. No, not okay. I'm doing this a little bit oddly. Hold on. And I need to increase my eraser. It's too small. But yes, I got the new PC, which I'm very happy with. And I'm going to try and install it, well, set it up tomorrow. And I'm very scared. I haven't had a PC since 2006. And that wasn't even my PC. That was like the family PC. So very excited, but also kind of intimidated, because I'm like, oh geez, do I even remember how to use one of these things? There we go. The other thing, and I joked about it in my community tab, is I'm having a bad time right now because I hate The Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Speaking of PCs, I have like a deep personal beef with that game. So at the moment, it's been really rough because everybody is playing it and everybody's like having so much fun with it. I'm just sitting there, I'm like, I hate this game. I hate this game so much. I hate that it's everywhere. So that's been rough. It's not even like a personal deep, it's not like a moral thing either. It's just like I have personal problems with this game due to childhood, and it's a bad time. Because I'll like try and watch Vinny play it, and I'll just be like frowning at the screen because I dislike the game so much. It's kind of hilarious. So I'll be like trying to enjoy the funny glitches and like the really silly things that happen in the game just because it's Oblivion, it's a Bethesda game. And I'm like, okay, I'll watch it just because of how dumb it is. And I'll watch Vinny like play it badly and run off and do stupid things and not really like get all up in arms about why I dislike it so much. And then it'll be fine and I'll be having a good time, and then like the main story will show up and I'll be like, oh, now I remember why I hate this. Reminder to everyone that Morrowind is $6 on Steam right now. I think Morrowind is like $5 on GOG. I think that's just like the baseline price, I think. It might be 15. I have a memory it's 5, but who knows. There's also the Morrowind MW project, which I think is free. No, it's not. It's not. I remember, it's a mod. You need like an actual copy of Morrowind. Okay, never mind. For a second there, I was like, wait, isn't that free? But no. maybe in a better world. I love how much Morrowind players hate every Bethesda game that isn't Morrowind. And you know what's funny is that Daggerfall people hate Morrowind. So it's just the nature of the franchise. Somebody on the post I made said whatever Bethesda game you started with is the best one, and whichever Bethesda game came after it is the worst one, which ruined the franchise. It's like, yes, exactly. That's exactly how it goes. And it's rough because the people who played Daggerfall first and who really liked it, I fully understand why they hate Morrowind. But at the same time, I'm like, yes, but also Morrowind is just like the best one because it's the one I like. I'm a big fan of the franchise. I've watched a lot of them. Yeah, do you mean like just the Elder Scrolls in general, or do you mean like Bethesda, I guess? Because very often people who like Bethesda games, they also like Fallout. Now, I say that, but I've never played a Fallout game, but I do have Fallout 1 in my game library. So I want to get back to that. Once again, I started it, but I only got like an hour in, so I don't think I can really say that I even started it. I only got about an hour in, and then I got overwhelmed and stopped. I've been playing too much Schedule 1 to keep up on Oblivion. There are so many games out at the moment that I want to play when I one day grow tired of Baldur's Gate. My friend, she started playing Rogue Trader. It's Warhammer, right? Warhammer... Is it Warhammer 4K Rogue Trader? I just know it as Rogue Trader. She's been playing that, and she loves that game so far. And it was like half price on Steam. And then also because I already had Pathfinder, it was like another half price. So I got it for like a quarter of the price, which I'm very happy about. So I'm very excited about that. I really want to play that because it sounds amazing. So that's one I really want to get to. And then GOG had their RPG sale a few days ago, and I grabbed way too many games because they were like 90% off. So I grabbed, what did I get? I got like 3 games or something. Oh, I got Neverwinter Nights finally. I think I got Rogue Trader on Steam. And I got some other like cyberpunk game that's also like do you call them TRPGs? They're not really TRPGs. I'm not sure what genre they fall into, but like TRPGs, tabletop, no, TTRPG, tabletop game, RPG games. Like I grabbed a whole lot of those because they were all sold, they were all on sale. And I've been enjoying Baldur's Gate 3 so much. I'm like, you know what? This is an entire genre of games that I did not get into because at the time I was playing Morrowind, which is first person, and I was playing PlayStation 2 games, which were like platformers. So I just never got into these. And I am now learning, wait, these are really, really good, and they've got amazing writing in them. And I'm now no longer a teenager who's like, no, it has to be in first person. I need to be able to see the character right in front of me. Like that's, I no longer have that skill issue. So now I can give these games with really, really good writing a better shake. So that was also my thinking. And then also I mentioned this before, I've got Halo, which I want to play Halo because I've never played Halo. I've got Into the Wild, where I need to play that. And I got the first Kingdom Come Deliverance. And now that I have like a really nice, strong PC that can play games better, I'll be able to play that as well without sacrificing like graphics, really. That's the other reason behind the PC. Yes, it's for work, but it's also so that I can actually play games that are a little bit stronger than the games I've been playing so far. Because even like Baldur's Gate 3, I have to play it on like mid graphics. But it also means maybe in the future I can get things like Death Stranding, which I know people have feelings about Death Stranding, but I was thinking about it and I realized that Death Stranding is probably exactly the kind of game that I would like because it's kind of like artsy bullshit. I'm like, I think that might actually be for me. I think I am exactly the intended audience for the bullshit artsy game. If I look at my own track record. I should try GOG more. I tend to stick to Steam unless it's only on GOG or I get it from Prime. I mean, that's fair. I tend to stick to Steam more, but when it comes to like RPG specifically, because I think the main thing was Neverwinter. I know it's on Steam as well, but for some reason I was just like, no, getting it on GOG was just better, but I can't remember why. There was something that just made it getting it on GOG better at the time. So that's where I got it. No. I'm confusing myself. No, it was Neverwinter. One of them. And that just kind of made me check GOG. The other thing as well is Steam refuses to accept my PayPal. It wants me to use my bank account, whereas GOG is fine with me using my PayPal. So that's the other thing, because sometimes I don't want to use money in my bank account. I want to use it out of my PayPal. And just the fact that Steam is like, no, you have to use your bank account. Like, that's really annoying to me. How are we still doing here? We're still doing good? We're doing good. Okay, great. So that's also... Oh, thank you, Mr. Bender, for renewing your membership. Hey, CPuff, glad I made your streams. I hope you and your mom are doing well. I hope everyone in chat's doing well also. Thank you so much. Yes, she's doing very well. She's just, because it was a surgery on her knee, she's a little immobile. So I have to run around and like help with things and things. So I'm very busy. But she's doing very well. Nothing really to report, which is good. And like I said, I'm running around. I keep saying it because I'm so excited and happy to be working on it. I'm working on a movie. So I'm very busy. Okay, I know he has a tie though, so we need to add that. No, that's gone. There we go. Okay, his tie is rather loose. So I don't need to draw it like right up here. It can actually be quite loose. Why did they scream no? Was it an... Oh, you're replying to somebody. Sorry, I'm butting into your conversation. I have never seen anything about Death Stranding other than the launch trailers, so I'm just very confused. I also know you can ruin your feet in that game. Being confused about Death Stranding, I've seen reviews on Steam where people have like 1,000 hours in that game and they like still like, I have no idea what this game is about. But the thing that like really grabbed my attention was in 2017, I think it was the Game Awards, because I think E3 was dead by then. The Game Awards did a live orchestral version of the Death Stranding theme. And that is probably still one of my favorite video game performances in terms of music ever. And again, just thinking about it, I'm like, maybe this is, I really should get this game because it sounds like the exact same kind of artsy nonsense that I like. Oh, and the other game I really want to get is Expedition 33 because everybody's raving about that. My friend just finished it recently and I'm trying to avoid spoilers as best I can because it just, from the screenshots I've seen and from the raving everybody is giving it, that just seems like a game I really, really want to get as well. So again, lots of things to play, which makes me very happy. I like it when there are a lot of things to enjoy. Because it sucks when everything sucks and there's just not a lot of quality at the moment. Especially with like the big AAA games. That's also why I'm happy there's like all these other things to play which aren't like massive AAA titles. Because it's like, okay, well if the AAA gaming scene is just going to make a bunch of garbage, we've got so many other things to play that it's fine. Hey Zane. Funny story about DK's tie. When I get a full suit, I want to get a version of DK's tie to wear with it. You should do that. They must. I was about to say they probably have ties for Donkey Kong. Like where you can get his tie, but they 100% do. Why on earth would they not? Let's do this. Banana. Banana. I'm not going to draw all these bananas. I'm just going to make like a rough suggestion of them. Otherwise, we're going to sit here all night with me just drawing bananas for like 4 hours. And they won't even be like realistically rendered bananas or anything. It'll just be like a bunch of like scribbled bananas. The lore behind how terrible the E.T. movie video game is has become legend. My thought was to have a copy as a joke. I don't actually own any, blah, blah, blah. But the guy was afraid of me mistaking it for being good. The E.T. Atari game is such an interesting story. There's an entire documentary about it. Now, the documentary, it's good, but what drove me a little bit crazy is the guy who made the documentary is friends with what's-his-face who wrote Ready Player One. So there's like extended periods of the documentary where they're just like, oh, here's the author of Ready Player One in his Back to the Future DeLorean. Here's him driving to where the E.T. Atari landfill is. And it's like, dude, I don't care. I do not care about this man. He's a bad writer, and also this has nothing to do with him. Go away. But apart from like that part of it, it's a really, really, really good documentary. It's really fascinating. And it's kind of heartwarming, and it might just be because it's a documentary, so it's trying to tell like a narrative. But I really enjoyed seeing the original Atari programmers kind of get their dues in that documentary, because it really highlighted how E.T., for being a garbage game, kind of reinvigorated the work they did in the 80s, if that makes sense. Like, it's such a bad game, but it's so well known and everybody wants a copy of it because it's so terrible. It's fascinating. I'm always very interested in stories where success becomes less a thing of how you succeed, if that makes any sense. Because you have things like The Room, that's another good example of it. And obviously, I'm a big fan of Red Letter Media, so me and my friend were also discussing how some movies on Red Letter Media, it's not that they're good movies, because they're not. They're really, really bad. But sometimes they just scratch a very specific itch for you. So even though they might be objectively terrible, there is something about them you just really enjoy, and you might find more value, question mark, than, say, a Christopher Nolan movie. Even though the Christopher Nolan movie is the objectively better piece of filmmaking. You know what I mean? Who's supposed to make Ready Player... Oh, I don't know if that's in context to something. Because I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that. Ah, where's my... There we go. I rewatched some current Bonanza footage. DK has proper eyelids. Really? Like he has like proper eyelids. Like he's got like the Red Flags music video eyelid where it looks like that. But no, I'm gonna keep like the cartoony, like almost a kind of anime, like 90s anime, I suppose.
You have received a new message.
Oh, thank you, Avina. Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Bender. I want to get this in before my internet poops out on me. Love your stream, CPAP. Thank you so much. That's so kind of you. I really, really appreciate it. Maybe I can buy Death Stranding with it. But no, I have too many games I need to actually play before I get Death Stranding. It's on my wish list, but again, I've got a lot of great games. See, he's a little bit off balance. I wonder if I should adjust him just a little bit. Let me copy this before I mess this up completely. Because I think what I should do is just kind of tweak the perspective this way. And then I think I should squash him a little bit. Not perspective. Where's scale? Oh, scale and rotate. Here we go. Just kind of squash him down a little bit. And just make him a little bit wider. And then in free transform, just bring this in a little bit so we don't lose where everything is. There we go. That looks better. Yeah, just quick save in the middle of me doing something. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that looks better. So if we compare that to that, you can see. As I said, I'm a little rusty because I haven't drawn in quite a while. Bring this down there. There we go. And I want to draw the DK on his tie. That's gone again. Where's DK? Here he is. There we go. Actually, let me do that on another layer just so that I can draw over this without messing up the tie, because I don't feel like drawing it again. Also, the thing is with the more powerful PC, I'm hoping that means I can get back to the Mass Effect streams as well, because the guys who built the PC for me, they say they tested Mass Effect and it works. So we'll see how it is with streaming and running the game at the same time, because I didn't get like the Rolls Royce of PCs, because I don't play FPS games and I don't play racing games. I'm not particularly interested in turning on RTX and that kind of thing. It doesn't really appeal to me, and I don't think I need like 160 frames per second, just because it's excessive for me, especially as somebody coming from like, oh, this is pencil, especially from coming being a console player where frame rates are usually locked to 60 at most. So I got a really strong mid-range gaming PC, because it also has to do things like video editing and animating and things like that. But it should be able to handle Mass Effect, even though it's the Legendary Edition. It's still a game from 2012, so it shouldn't be that hard on the GPU. So I'm hoping I can get back to those as well. That's the big thing about PCs. Streaming takes a ton of its resources, and playing a game streaming it really pushes it to the limit. It can work on a good PC, but it can still take quite a toll. Yeah, and it was working okay with the gaming laptop I used to have, but I'll see. Like I said, I can't make promises because I haven't even set the thing up yet, but I'll see what I'm able to do with it. But it's a brand new PC. It's not secondhand or anything, so all its parts are new and such. So we'll see. We'll see what it can handle and what it can do. It's an upgrade from what I have at the moment. Regardless of what it is still an upgrade. Just the screen alone, I think it's like, it's not twice what my laptop screen is. But I mean, I'm going from like a 15-inch laptop screen to like, I think it's 24-inch. So that's a big jump. And I got an AMD graphics card in it, which is pretty good. I don't know the numbers of which one, because numbers and me just aren't friends. It just becomes like alphabet soup when I look at it. But I've got an AMD graphics card, and yeah, we'll see. I'm very happy with it. I could see they set it up for me and had me test it before I confirmed, yes, I'm happy. And I was happy with it then. So I'm excited to set it up. Like I said, I just wish I didn't have to set it up with the looming threat of it has to be up and running by Monday so I can get back to work. Because it's not so much the PC working, it's just like setting up the software and installing all the drivers I need. And I've always found with anything computer related, something that should take 2 minutes takes half an hour, like without fail, every single time. Especially since you've also mentioned you have a VTuber rig, although I'm not sure if you'll plan to use that for streaming. All three of those would probably overload it. Yeah, I want to use the VTuber rig, but again, we'll see what it can do. I might test the VTuber rig as like a just chatting stream one day to see how it handles and such. But if we can run it, probably not with gaming, but if we can run it while I'm doing my art streams, that would be very cool, just to kind of have something on screen of myself while I'm drawing, because it just kind of adds to the presentation, if you will. The V-puff? That's very good. That's very, very, very good. I like that. I actually thought if I ever do like the YouTuber thing where you have like the dark, evil version of me or my avatar, it could be like Depuff. When I came up with my online name when I was 13, I was not aware of just like how versatile it would end up being. I can totally picture a SEPA VTuber model. Yeah, my friend made me one. She made me one quite a while ago, to the point where she's like, oh geez, I've improved so much since this. It's just that my hardware has not been strong enough to handle it, which sucks because I like it a lot. But it would be really cool if I can use that during art streams. And I think the PC should be able to handle that at least, because I use Clip Studio Paint. And one of the big reasons why I switched from Photoshop to Clip Studio Paint, aside from all the reasons why, is that Clip Studio Paint is so much lighter in using resources than Photoshop is. So with Photoshop, like my laptop would be like begging for death, whereas with Clip Studio Paint, ever since I switched, it doesn't complain about Clip Studio Paint. Depuff. I'm guessing the next step up from CPuff would be Bpuff. Well, I've said this before. The entire thinking behind the name when I was like 13 or 12 or something was I was big into the Powerpuff Girls at the time, and all their names start with B. And I was like, okay, well, my avatar would be like the bootleg discount version of the Powerpuff Girls, so it would be like C Puff instead of B. Like not even a name, just like C Puff. So that was the thinking. And then just with the development of the internet, I often found that that was a name that nobody really had online back in the day. It's different now because there are just so many more people online. But back in the day, it was a name that rarely anyone ever used. So it was always free on like websites and things. So I just kept using it. And it's like, well, it's been like, what, 20 years? I might as well just keep using it. Evil CPuff would be backwards CPuff. It makes me wonder, should I be worried about you people? Oh, I see. It's continuation from a previous message. A long while ago, I read very unhinged Nickelodeon fan theories that because Carly in iCarly lives in room 8C and Freddy lives in 8D, it's a sex joke. I don't know. Some internet like cartoon theories or like children's media theories are honestly some of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. And it's difficult because the default option would be to make fun of it. Like, this is so stupid. This is such a dumb thing. But then at the same time, there's like a level of cringe child horror that I think we should always make space for online. It used to be like creepypasta. Well, like creepypastas, even though creepypastas aren't really as big a thing anymore. Like creepypastas, like Five Nights at Freddy's, like all these like, I want to say cringe, although that's not really the right word for it. But you know, like these childhood horror things. I think there should always be some space for that online because I think it is such an iconic part of what the internet as a whole is. So I think that cartoon theories, even though they're dumb, kind of fall under the same veil. I only get irritated when people start taking those theories and behaving as if those theories are canon. And then they start like yelling at people when they don't adhere to this like made up theory. That was my big problem with MatPat is MatPat, I think at some point really started buying his own scam, as it were. It's not really a scam, but you know what I mean. He started buying his own hype. Whereas before, I was like, well, I thought these were all just fun concepts and ideas. I didn't think that we were supposed to take any of this seriously. And it's clear that after a while, he did start taking his own theories seriously. And then you had his fans who would like force whatever theory MatPat came up with as being canon. So if you didn't adhere to it, then you were like making a mistake. That was like a whole thing. It's not so much a thing anymore. even after a while with MatPat, his fans calmed down a bit, but for a long time that was a big problem. And I happened to be really into Undertale at the time, so that was not fun, because you would like do anything within the fan space and there would be a not insignificant number of people telling you that you were getting something wrong because MatPat said otherwise. I hate that Ed, Edd and Eddy theory. Yeah, that one's pretty dumb. The Rugrats one is really dumb. Like, the Rugrats one is really dumb. The Adventure Time one is so boring. I don't even know if I can call it dumb. It's like, oh, it was all a dream that Finn was having while he was in a coma. And it's like, yeah, and? So what about it? Like, what about that theory makes the story more interesting, right? Because that's the problem. Very often with these theories, the theory that people come up with, it doesn't make the story more interesting. It doesn't make the story more engaging or more fascinating or anything. It just kind of makes the story dumber and worse. It's like, if this is true, then it's really stupid. I'm on pins and needles waiting for CPuff's Velma Season 2 review. Yeah, like I said, I have got like 5 minutes of footage left to edit. It's just because I'm so busy with the movie I'm working on that I keep thinking, oh, once I finish a scene early, I'll just finish that up and it'll be done. And I just haven't had time because I have not had a scene that I finished early yet. Because the quality demand is so high. There we go. By the way, the invadism theory was really boring because invadism theorists have had the idea Membrane was an alien for years. But the ways in which he drew the conclusion, even people who liked the invadism theory didn't like that video. See, I stopped watching him by that point. I think I've said before, I stopped watching MatPat when FNAF 4 came out. And when he did like a live stream when that came out, I was just like, oh, I don't think I'm a big fan of the energy in the room of this live stream. It just feels weird. It feels very manic. It feels manic. It feels off. I don't think I'm on board for whatever this is. And then I just stopped watching him. Which I think he probably improved since then. I think later on, a few years later, he did kind of mellow out. Oh, and then he did the thing, this was after I stopped watching him. But then he did the thing where like Toby Fox called him out on Twitter, like, dude. Because he was playing some of the game on live stream and like didn't credit what the game was. He didn't link to it or anything. And the creator of the game was like, bro, that's kind of really shitty of you to do that. Because now you could have like really given our game a boost. You're using it on your video or your stream for content. And you're just like not directing people to it. And then MatPat was like, actually, blah, blah, blah. And then Toby Fox like tweeted at him and was like, bro, I'm kind of disappointed in this behavior. I remember one of my mutuals on Tumblr actually said, if Toby Fox personally told me he was disappointed in me for any reason, I would just not be able to recover. The most I've watched of MatPat was his cameo in the FNAF movie. To be honest though, I am kind of glad he did get a cameo in the FNAF movie because that's the kind of thing where it's like, well, it feels right. The fact that like Markiplier didn't get a cameo in the FNAF movie because he was busy with I believe he was working on what's the game's name? The Blood Ocean game. He was working on that movie at the time, and like for scheduling conflicts, he just couldn't be on set for the FNAF movie. The Iron Lung, thank you. See, I know what it is, I just don't know the name. I think also it's just that thing, I think Dana said this on one of her streams. Streamer brain is very much a thing. It's like when you go on a live stream, your IQ drops by like 20 points. And I'm convinced that this is real. This is the truth because I feel it. Do that. Just check what's going on here. Okay, we're still good. But yes, the fact that Markiplier wasn't in the FNAF movie, like, you feel the absence, right? Like, you feel Markiplier should be here. And I saw people who went to the FNAF movie with little Markiplier photos on toothpicks so they could hold it up so that Markiplier would be in the corner of the stream the entire movie. And it was a screenshot from, like, was that the bite of 87? Like, they had that screenshot when they went to go watch the film. So yes, MatPat being in the FNAF movie, it's like, no, he had to be there. It would have been wrong for him not to be in the movie. Iron Lung film coming out this year. I need to check if that's getting like a theatrical release or if it's going to be streaming only. Because I am curious. I'm actually really curious how he's going to expand the concept beyond just beyond just the realm of concept, and how he's going to make it a narrative that can be like a movie. I'm interested to see how he's able to do that, because Iron Lung benefits from being a very self-contained concept. It's more a concept than it is a narrative. And so I'm curious to see how he turns it into an entire film. Because on the one hand, a game being just a concept and not a narrative gives you a lot of freedom to build a narrative yourself. But I've been using a pencil this whole time. But on the other hand, it's being nothing but a concept. There's nothing for you really to take inspiration from. You have to build the entire thing yourself. And that kind of means there's far more room for error and just not presenting the game in a way that the rest of the audience feels, yes, this is what the game felt like when I played it or when I watched someone else play it. Iron Lung is planned for theaters. Okay, interesting. I look forward to that because I love horror. I really love horror a lot. So like I said, I'm very curious to see how he adapts the concept into like a narrative. I don't know if that would be something I'd cover for the channel though. Like, I'd be interested in talking about it, but I feel it's a little bit too off-brand for my channel, which is animation focused, to then talk about like the Markiplier movie. Even if I find it interesting and as somebody who likes horror, it would be something I'd enjoy talking about, it might come across as if I'm like algorithm chasing, which I also don't really want to do. Also, I take so long to make things, it would probably come out like 2 years after the movie's like been out. But maybe I'll talk about it, well, obviously, but I'll probably talk about it in a live stream at least. Because yes, I'm very, very interested because I really liked the game. I thought the game was fascinating. I'm just not sure how you turn that into a narrative when it's a concept game. Versus like mouthwashing, whereas mouthwashing, there is concept there, but mouthwashing is 1000% a narrative game. Like, you play mouthwashing for the story and the characters. And yes, there's world building and concept there, but that's not what the focus of the game is. I think the hands might be backwards. You know what? I think you're right now that you say it. You know what? I said to myself, thumbs behind the head, and then I drew the thumbs anyway. I don't know why I did that. I actually like even lifted my hands behind my head to double check. And then I drew them anyway. But yes, like I said, mouthwashing, very, very much a narrative experience. But Iron Lung, not so much. And it would be interesting to see how Markiplier adapts that. Because I've actually not seen any of Markiplier's previous projects, like his movies and shows. Partly because we don't get YouTube Red in my country, so like, where am I going to watch them? I mean, I can probably find them if I try, but I've got so many other things to watch. And the other reason is, I don't know, like, I just don't know how Markiplier's filmmaking, I don't know what Markiplier's filmmaking skills are like. That's basically what I'm trying to say. do this? The hand is on the other side. We do that. There we go. And you know what? We can also do this. I did watch Markiplier's Edge of Sleep series. I was surprised how interesting it was as like a concept. It's a weird, cool little thing. Okay, that's cool. Oh, I need to do that line as well. I'm not saying I don't think he can do it. I just don't know. I haven't seen his other things, so I don't know what his filmmaking style is like. It's also difficult because he's Markiplier. It can be difficult to actually judge level of quality because a lot of people like him as a person. So, of course, they would enjoy what he makes because they already like him as Markiplier. So that's the other thing. Because I would like to know what the quality level is separated from Markiplier as the uncle of YouTube, right? For me, of all indie horror games that slowly approach a jump scare ending, why Iron Lung? I think it's because Iron Lung was more atmosphere focused than spooky big-headed jump scare screaming. You know, like what's the joke that I think it's either Vinny or Joel that always makes, where it's like PNG jump scare. Like, and Iron Lung, it's not really about the PNG jump scare at the end so much as it is the build up to it. And the concept of Iron Lung itself is terrifying. And I'm trying to like think, like cosmic horror, I guess is the closest genre you could call, like lump it into. But I don't even know if I can call it that, because usually when people talk about cosmic horror, they usually talk about like horrors from beyond the stars that we as mere mortals can't really comprehend. Like, that's what cosmic horror tends to be classified as. And yes, there is that in Iron Lung, but that's not what makes it scary. What makes Iron Lung scary is just the fact that humanity is kind of already lost and people are desperately scrambling for something that can keep them going. And there is just no evidence that what they're doing is even going to help. And then the game puts you in the perspective of one person having to deal with something horrific, which in a way is almost completely separate to the rest of the horror of the setting. And I think that's why it grabbed people's attention more than other spooky jump scare PNG games did. Like I said, I would compare it to mouthwashing, but mouthwashing is kind of its own thing. I think you can, I keep comparing them in my head just because of the fake retro art style and the fact that they are both horror in space. But to me, mouthwashing is far more in line with like Silent Hill. I would place mouthwashing more in that category than cosmic horror, which is interesting because according to the YouTuber Ragnarox, I believe is his name, he did an entire video about how Silent Hill 2 is inspired by Solaris. And I don't know whether that's true or not, but he makes a very strong case as to why it could be possible. And so, Solaris, I don't know whether you would classify Solaris as cosmic horror. I don't know what you would classify Solaris as, to be honest. But cosmic horror is as close as it comes in terms of a firm genre you can put it into. So it's interesting that you have like Silent Hill 2, possibly inspired by Solaris, which is cosmic horror, and then you have Mouthwashing, which is also horror in space. I think is what I'm trying to say. Streamer brain is because you're doing the task of streaming means you're constantly distracted and multitasking. Your brain not firing on all cylinders and feels pressure from viewers. Yeah, it's also because I'm doing, I think, 4 things at once because I'm drawing, I'm interacting with chat, I am monitoring stream health, and I'm also listening to the music, making sure that it's not dying. So a lot of things. And I also have my antivirus pop up in the corner every few seconds, but don't worry about that. That's fine. I know why that's happening, and it's fine. Don't worry about it. Is that all the bananas? I do need to do the DK on his tie though. Yeah, that's fine. DK. For me, oh, that's the jump scare ending. Is my chat actually moving? My chat was not moving on my phone. That's why I was not seeing people's replies. Thanks a lot, phone. Hold on, let me just minimize my Clip Studio Paint so I can actually see what people are saying. So this is gonna look weird for a second. Do that. There we go. Solaris isn't cosmic horror. I saw some... Oh, isn't horror. It is, but it isn't. That's what I'm saying. I don't know what I would classify Solaris at. I genuinely don't know what Solaris's category or genre is. It's 70s Soviet art film. That is what Solaris is. And that is the only genre I can think of putting it in. Seapuff sitting in the burning room. This is fine. No, it's fine. I have a thing running to keep my ratio good, if you know what I mean. So that's what that is. And my antivirus is like, hey, why is this program sending and receiving all this data? And I'm like, it's fine, don't worry. It's fine. I know why that is. You don't need to worry about it. It's cool. I want to do that. Oh, there we go. I'd call it sci-fi psychological drama, I guess. Excuse me, hiccup. I guess you can call it that, but the psychological thrillerness of it in terms of like existential horror is very much part of Solaris. So even though it may not be a horror, there are 1000% horror elements going on in it. You know what I mean? All messages. Let's see if I can get my phone working again. Okay, yeah, there we go. Okay, I got it working. So make Clip Studio Paint the size it's supposed to be. There we go. If you can understand what Solaris is, any teacher who told you that you weren't Harvard material will like I said, the video I saw by Ragnarox about its inspiring Silent Hill is very, very interesting. Because he makes a very strong case for it as well. And it's kind of colored how I think about Silent Hill 2 in a way. I don't know. Like, I like the connection between the two, so I really hope they are connected on some level and that one really did inspire the other. I know everybody jokes about like, oh, Silent Hill, the first one, has clear references to Kindergarten Cop in it. It was obviously inspired by Kindergarten Cop. And my theory is that why there's so much Kindergarten Cop in the first Silent Hill is because the Japanese developers making the first Silent Hill didn't know what an American elementary school looked like. So they took a movie which shows one and shows a lot of parts of the school. And Kindergarten Cop does do that. Like Kindergarten Cop, you see a lot of what the elementary school looks like. So I think that's why that's in the game. Is because they're like, shit, what does an American school look like? Well, we'll watch this movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. This will probably tell us. I'm on the other person. Is chat, if I hear Solaris, my mind will go to Sonic 06. Oh no. I saw that Snapcube, she's going to release a real-time fan dub of Kingdom Hearts, which I am so excited for because I grew up with the first Kingdom Hearts, and I loved the first Kingdom Hearts. I wasn't really into the second one for various reasons. One being that the first Kingdom Hearts came out when I was 14 or 15. And then you had to wait 4 years for the second one. And by the time the second one came out, I was like 18. So, you know, the second one kind of hit different than the first one. But also, I liked the first Kingdom Hearts because of its focus on Disney. And the second Kingdom Hearts had a bigger focus on like the Square Enix anime side of things. And I didn't find that as enjoyable. But it means I am super excited for Snapcube's real-time fandub of it, because I think that'll be amazing. Speaking of cool school systems, it took me until a second viewing of Azumanga Daioh to realize that Japanese high school is only 3 years instead of 4 years. Yes, our schools are actually the same. It is 3 years. Let me see if I remember this. You have primary school, which is 6 years. Then you have high school, which is 6 years. But in the school I went to, high school was then also divided into 2. So then you had like middle high school and like proper high school. So yeah, I imagine that's kind of what Japan is doing. But they have like primary school, middle school, and high school. Whereas here we only have primary school and high school. But again, this is why they do things like watch Kindergarten Cop to make sure that they understand the difference in schooling. And this is why, if you are not from a certain country and you're trying to do things like that, you need to do research on how the school system works if you're going to set your fictional story in a school. Otherwise, you end up with something like the Yandere simulator problem, where it's like weirdly sexualized, but all the characters are wearing middle school uniforms, and it's like, bro, no. And that's just because dude did not bother to do any kind of research. Then again, there's a lot going on there. It's more than just a lack of research. There's a lot, just a whole lot going on there. I got flashbacks to Yandere. When I interviewed Guillermo del Toro for a magazine, oh, amazing, and asked him if he hired Dan Lautzen as his Crimson Peak DP because he worked on the Silent Hill film, Del Toro said no. He worked with Lautzen before on Mimic. It's just that he doesn't like talking about Mimic for Miramax reasons. Oh yeah, Miramax is one of those, for sure. Let me just see. Okay. Oh, okay. So it's not just flesh colored in there. It's like this dark brown, which means that that's going to be the same color as his eyelids, most likely. There we go. That's cool that you got to interview Del Toro, though. I've never, like, been in contact with him at, like, a con or anything. So that's pretty awesome. I did actually see Markiplier at Comic-Con one year. This was quite a few years ago. He had like 2 people around his booth because he was busy promoting his comic. And I didn't watch Markiplier at the time, but I knew who he was. And I just saw him and I was like, well, I don't watch him, so what I'm going to do, walk up to him and be like, hey, I recognize you. No, that's dumb. So I just walked away and left and didn't say anything to him. The closest I've been to Del Toro is I said hello to Mike Mignola at Comic-Con one year. That is my biggest degree of separation. Did I get his autograph? Who, Markiplier's or Mike Mignola? Because I did get Mignola's autograph. I actually have a little limited edition print of Hellboy on my wall. Is this green or yellow? Why does this look so green? It must just be my screen, because that is not green on the color wheel, like, at all. My phone is on a bit of a delay. Let me see what it looks like on the phone screen when it comes up. Is it because it's gray? Do I need to, like, push it up here? Why is it this color? That's too bright. Yeah, that's better. Okay, it still looks a little green, but it looks better on the phone screen, so it might just be my light settings because I turned my flux off because I didn't want you guys to look at an orange screen while I was working. I wish for Diddy Kong to return from the war. Miramax also tried to butcher Princess Mononoke, but they backed down. Didn't they actually do that though? Because I saw a copy of Warriors of the Wind on archive.org, but Warriors of the Wind is Nausicaa, but the description on archive said it was Mononoke. No, it wasn't. It wasn't because I remember now. They got Princess Mononoke for an American release, and Miyazaki, I believe, sent them in the post. He sent them a samurai sword as a threat, and I think all it said was no cuts, and and that's why they didn't massacre Princess Mononoke. I believe that's the story. I need to double check like how true that is, but that's the story as to why Princess Mononoke is a lot better, because Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind had an American release, and it was so awful, and they just destroyed that movie that Miyazaki just said he was not releasing any other films in America. And then they came to him begging him to if they could release Princess Mononoke, and it took a lot of convincing, but he eventually said yes, and then the samurai sword incident happened. I believe that's how that went down. Did he escape from the Mario movie jail? Damn, Miyazaki, that's friggin' intense. Yeah, well, Warrior of the Wind, I actually need to watch it now that I found it on the archive. They did like such a terrible job with how they edited that movie, because one of the big things is they basically edited out Nausicaa herself. How you do that, I don't know. And they made the main character the boy instead. I don't even remember what the boy's name is, but they made him the main character instead of Nausicaa. And then they just like cut out like tons and tons and tons of the movie. And it just turned into this horrible bastardization of what the original film was. And that's why there were no official American releases of Ghibli movies until like Princess Mononoke. Miyazaki is apparently a genuinely scary man, especially when it comes to his work. I don't think he's particularly scary. I think he's just an animation director. And that sounds like I'm trying to be shady, but there is a certain personality you need to be an animation director. And one of the big ones is you have to be a hard ass. And there's no real getting around that. Because as the director, it's your ass on the line in terms of deadline. And you are the one where the buck stops at. But you are also the guy in charge of keeping the entire ship afloat. And because it's a pipeline, if one person messes up, it messes up every single other person further down in the pipeline. So you have to do everything you can to avoid bottlenecks from happening, because a bottleneck is a massive problem, because it's not just one area that gets delayed. It creates this massive domino snowball effect where everything else just cascades into a disaster afterwards. So you have to basically be a drill sergeant in terms of directing and leading the studio underneath you. And you can't always do something like take people's feelings into account when you're talking about things like quality. It does not help the production at large to pussyfoot around an animator or colorist or storyboard artist as to why what they're doing isn't working. You have to be very, very direct and be like, this is what's not working. You need to fix it. And this is what I'm unhappy with. And a lot of people, I think, outside of the animation industry will look at that kind of feedback and be like, wow, that is so harsh. That's such a brutal way to communicate to your employees. But it's like, yes, but you must understand that the animation industry, when I was at college, they described to us the only business, and it's probably a hyperbole, but the only business where hierarchy is more important is the military, because you have to be in constant understanding of who your superior is and what your superior says. And it's not just superior in terms of studio structure, it's also superior in terms of who is above you in the pipeline. And you also have to be conscientious of every production after you in the pipeline. And you have to adhere to that structure or the entire thing falls apart. And that's also like why the director falls into a certain personality type. And yeah, outside of animation, it may seem a little harsh, but that's just the reality. And it's to keep the machine working. It's not to be nasty. It's not to be a hard ass. It's to make sure that you have a movie at the end of the day. That's how directing works, though. Yeah, but I mean, like, I think people think because it involves art and drawing that some level of gentleness has to be involved, because you are directly criticizing the person who's working for you's art. And you can't have that in an animation industry, because then it just doesn't work. It's far more rigid. And when you work in the animation industry, you learn to a certain degree to separate yourself from the work you're doing, so that you see it rather than, oh, I didn't draw his tie here. Rather than being like a personal failure, it's like, this is a problem we are having with this level of production, and this is the problem we're having with the scene that you worked on, and this is how we problem solve the problem. You know what I mean? And your duty as an animator or colorist or cleanup artist is to do your work as fast as you can to a level of quality that is demanded. And that's your job. And it's the director's job to make sure that you stay within that line, so that you don't trade too far one way or the other. Because the other problem is, if you are like a really, really good animator, you can become a perfectionist. And then a scene is done, it's good enough, but you keep seeing ways in which it can be improved, so you keep insisting to work on it more and more and more. And then the scene never gets done either. So animation is always judging, when is a scene good enough? It's never really when is a scene finished. It's when is a scene good enough. Because if you wait until a scene is like finished to perfection, nothing ever gets done. Then you become like that Russian animator who's been working on the same film for like 40 years. Because that's what happens. And that's also what happened with The Thief and the Cobbler. You become so obsessive with getting it right and getting it perfect that you just don't finish. So every single scene reaches a level of good enough. But anyway, so that's probably why Miyazaki comes off as kind of a hard ass. I think it's just he's very direct, and he has very little patience for people who don't follow along with what he's trying to explain to you, which is interesting because I've been reading Walt Disney's biography, and apparently he was very, very similar in that regard, where he would get extremely, annoyed is the wrong word, he would get like extremely frustrated if he's explaining his thought process to somebody and he can tell that the person isn't following along. Then he would get frustrated and be like, I can see that you're not understanding what I mean. And he would get very, very, very annoyed with like even his trusted staff if they were like not following along with what he was trying to communicate to them. That's something a producer I worked with once said. You need to get to a point where you can say, enough, it's done. Yeah, that's like one of the biggest tricks. It's just being like, okay, enough, it's done. But that's also not your job as animator or colorist or cleanup artist. That is the job of your director or your producer or whoever you answer to. It's their job to look at something and be like, okay, this is good enough now. Because you are not the director, so you're not the one who has to make that call, because again, it's their arse on the line, so they have to be the one that makes the call of, okay, this is good enough. And then the client has to look at it and be happy with it, because that's the thing. You can't deliver something to a client and have them be unhappy with the quality level that you've delivered. It has to go past all the quality assurance within production before the client sees it. Because if the client sees it and they are unhappy with it, then you've got all kinds of different problems. And that's kind of what happened with, or is happening with Disney's animation production right now. Because we saw that in the making of Frozen 2. Where they kept going back and forth, and they kept making writing changes, and they kept changing things over and over and over again, depending on what studio testing was saying. Because they kept saying, okay, well, no, the audience didn't respond positively to this, so we need to change this, so we need to redo this, so we need to introduce this villain, and we need to cut that villain, and we need to change who the main character is. Like, that's what you want to avoid. And the fact that the Disney Animation Studios is not avoiding that, and they get stuck in production hell over and over again because they get stuck continuously in that kind of situations, is a massive problem. And that's why their movies end up being like $200 million. It's a big snowball problem. Movie by committee? Yeah, it's like reductive to say that, but also that is what it is, if you know what I mean. That's just like one problem. There are far more problems, but that is a big one. And it eats massively into these movies' budgets. It's just how many rewrites and changes and reshoots and editing these movies go through. And it's not just the Disney animation department, because we see the same thing with like Marvel, and what else do they own? They own Marvel, they own the animation department, they own something else which I can't remember. I'll be honest, I hadn't watched a Disney movie before reviewing Wish in like years. Like, I'm talking about new movies just because I couldn't be bothered. I'm like, you know what, never mind. I've got better things to watch. The closest I came to watching a Disney movie was watching like Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Which, that's more a James Gunn movie than it is a Disney movie. Star Wars, thank you. I was like, the other one. By the end, I didn't even know what was going on anymore. And now Elsa's like the Avatar or something. Yeah. But also, that's also why when I was talking about Wish, I didn't really dig into her too much. But Thorn Vera Sunthorn, I don't have great confidence in her as a director, because when she speaks in interviews, she comes across very, very submissive and like soft, which she's probably a nice person, but that is a horrible personality trait to have as like a director. That just does not work, because how are you supposed to lead an entire team if you are like passive and submissive like that? It just doesn't work. So that's also one of the reasons why I felt, oh, that it's not like the reason why Wish didn't work, but I don't think it helped the situation at all. There we go. I'm excited for the Velma video to finally come out. I really, really hope I get a break so that I can finish it up. Because I like it so far. I was talking about it last time. And I'm quite happy with the arguments I make in it. I think there's one part where I worry I waffle on a little bit too long. It's not the part where I'm talking about how we got a season 2. That part I'm okay with. But there's another part where I'm talking about the Breakfast Club episode where I worry I waffle on a little bit too long about the subject. But at the same time, I know that that's kind of what people come to the channel for. So I might be concerned about it, but other people will probably see that like as a feature. Steven Universe's showrunner was passive and it was a mess of other people's ideas. yeah, I haven't really seen interviews with Rebecca Sugar, so I don't know what her personality is like. With Fawn Vera Sans Thorn, it just stuck out to me so blatantly. That's why I could like clock it as like, oh, that was probably really frustrating in production, because she just comes across as so passive. Whereas the other director, whose name I forget, he was the director on Tarzan, and they have scenes of him like in the sweatbox where they're reviewing dailies, and he's talking about the scene that they're reviewing, and when he talks in that making of, he comes across like an animation director. Like, he's soft-spoken, but he's very clear and direct with what his thought process is and what he thinks about the scene they're reviewing. So, you know, that's also something. All the synthwave Donkey Kong music got me doing the Billy Maguire. Seepuff can't escape the Breakfast Club. I really can't. It keeps popping up. But, you know, I'd rather deal with the Breakfast Club than Shoujo Tsubaki. I was looking at, like, an archive of anime on archive.org that were just on there for free. And I was like, yay, all this anime. And then one of them is, like, Shoujo Tsubaki. And I'm like, why? Go away. I'm not talking about you. Why do you keep popping up every now and then? Please go away. You have a worldwide ban. Why are you even on this website? So I would much rather be haunted by the Breakfast Club than Shoujo Tsubaki. I would go so far as to say that the live-action Lilo and Stitch is an insidious movie with a message that will actually hurt people. Yeah, no, it will. But I am approaching the Lilo and Stitch movie the same way I did the live-action Little Mermaid movie and the live-action Lion King movie, which is that even acknowledging them is giving them too much, not credibility, what's the word? It's giving them too much importance to acknowledge them, if that makes sense. Like, they are such nothing movies that they're not even worth talking about or like mentioning or like going into detail about, because like, what is there to say about them? With Lilo and Stitch, it turns out quite a lot, but a lot of it boils down to like the disrespect towards the Hawaiian population, and just like the absolutely awful messaging, and just the complete inability to handle a story that doesn't have a traditional villain structure. Like, you can talk about all of that, but at the same time, I'm like, yes, but is it worth it? Because I don't know if I really even want to acknowledge that these movies exist, because it's giving them too much credit. That's the word I was looking for. It's giving them too much credit to acknowledge that they are here. Whereas the best I can do with a movie like the live-action Lilo and Stitch is to meet it with absolutely resounding silence and apathy. Because I am not interested in their existence. It affects my life in a non-zero way. And they impact my life in no way whatsoever. And pretending that they're worth talking about is just making them more important than they really are, quite frankly. It's hard to balance, because if you don't talk about it, then there will still be a lot of people that will praise them. That is true. And that's why I'm happy to see that there are lots of people on YouTube that is calling out the movie just for the horrendous piece of trash it is. But for me, I am not going to rush out and see it because I want to make a review on it and tell everybody how terrible it is, especially when others are doing that. Because my approach has always been, well, I don't want to talk about it because it's not worth talking about. It's just a terrible movie. It's just, it's a modern day Disney live action remake. Like, what do you want me to say about it? And I think in the case of Lilo and Stitch, it's more important to let people who know more about why it's so terrible speak about it, specifically because it deals with Hawaii and just the absolute disrespect and things like that. And I could say things about it. Like I said, what's interesting to me is just the absolute way that the filmmakers panicked because they didn't know how to handle a movie with no like traditional villain in it. Like no, there are no villains in the original Lilo and Stitch. There is Gantu, but even Gantu isn't really a villain. Gantu is a good person who is trying to do what he thinks is the right thing, which is to rid the galaxy of a horrendous monster who very, very accurately wants to destroy everything. The only reason Stitch doesn't is because he's on an island far away from large cities. If he wasn't, he would have absolutely just destroyed everything. So it's not even that Gantu is wrong. It just so happens that the circumstances make it that we as the audience are not on Gantu's side in the story. But that doesn't mean that Gantu himself is a bad person. It just means that he is our antagonist, you know, with the opposition of the protagonist. And the alien council that shows up at the end, they're all just people trying to do the right thing in the situation. There is no singular bad guy in the Lilo and Stitch movie. And I think these people who are currently working in modern day Disney, they didn't know how to handle that. They didn't know how to handle a story structure that didn't have a villain they could point at and say, this is the oppressor. Like they didn't know what to do with a story that didn't have that. And so they just screwed the entire thing up. Tons of footage was scrapped from the original film over the protest of Sanders and Dubois, I believe. Chris Sanders' first commentary on mainland Americans objectifying Hawaiians. Yeah, like, that's the whole thing. I believe Chris is credited in the live-action movie. I know he's credited as a writer, but they have to do that because Chris came up with the idea himself. I mean, it's his original story. But I don't know if he's credited in the live-action remake as a producer or something. But I can't think that he has much to do with it because it is so antithetical to what his original story was. And, I mean, Chris left Disney specifically because of nonsense like this. So why on earth would he come back to direct like a bastardization live-action remake of his own story when he's off with DreamWorks making things like The Wild Robot? Right? Like, what would be the point? I'm trying to think, has Chris ever made a movie that was like bad? I know he made The Croods. The Croods isn't like a great movie, but I wouldn't call it a bad movie. I just think it's not a fantastic movie, but you know, it's fine. I don't know whether Chris Sanders has ever actually made a movie that was like bad, unless I'm like not thinking of a very obvious one. Also hearing Jumbo was made into full villain in LA made me upset. Like, that's Stitch's dad. What I love in the OG is how much those two have the same sense of humor and resemble each other. Yeah, but again, the filmmakers who did the live-action remake, they're just bad at their jobs because they were... I don't know if I should even say this because this is like a whole thing. I talked about this on Tumblr, where it's very, very difficult to talk about why these people are in the positions they are in. Because it is designed specifically so that you can't criticize it without coming across as being bigoted. Right? You can't criticize and be like, these people are put in place in positions above their skill level to basically be performative towards the audience and, even more importantly, the shareholders. Like, that's why they're doing that. But if you point that out, there will inevitably be people that say, oh, you're just saying that because you're a bigot. And the entire system is designed to be that way. It's designed to prevent criticism of what is actually happening by turning you into the bad guy automatically, right? But anyway, my point is, so the people in charge of the story writing, they do not have the story writing skill nor the experience needed to be able to handle a story specifically like Lilo and Stitch, which is a children's movie but is deceptively really, really nuanced and deep. And it's very difficult because it is using the mask of being a children's movie, which makes you think, oh, it's a kid's movie, so it's not that deep, it's not that it doesn't have that much going on with it when it is extremely deep in everything it has to say. It's just saying it in a way that children can understand and makes it easier for adults to be able to handle. And that is very, very hard to pull off. That is extremely hard to pull off. And the people in charge of storytelling of this live-action remake, they do not have the skills nor the experience to be able to handle a story of that level. That's also part of it. That's even before you get into things like audience testing to such a degree that it completely kills the movie, or movie by committee. Like, even before you even get into those problems, it's already a problem on a writing level because the writers themselves are ill-equipped to handle this kind of story to begin with. But again, it's designed in a way where you can't really criticize it, because doing so opens yourself up for people saying, oh, so you're just complaining because of bigoted reasons. And then it puts you on the defensive, where you have to kind of have to affirm that no, you actually don't have a problem with it for bigoted reasons. You have a problem with it because of the way it's done. And then it automatically puts you on the defensive, where you kind of have to defend yourself, when all you're trying to do is kind of get to the bottom as to why these things are badly constructed. And that is why very often in my videos, I don't even go into that conversation. I would much rather talk about, this is why the product or project doesn't work. This is what's going wrong. This is what is done well. This is what I think could be improved upon. Like, that to me is a far more interesting discussion, just because of the kind of person I am. I prefer to talk about those things than I do like the other things, because the other things just kind of get depressing, and it starts getting into like business and politics, and I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to talk about this. This is not the part of filmmaking that's interesting to me. I don't find talking about this part of filmmaking enriching or like, I don't want to say interesting. It's not the part of talking about it that makes me happy. I prefer talking about the parts of animation that makes me happy, and that is to do with the product and project and film itself, because that is what I am interested in. So although I understand all these like meta reasons as to why certain things are happening and why they are the way they are, I vastly prefer just talking about the thing itself. Talking about Velma Season 2, one of my favorite things about talking about the second season is the fact that everybody involved with Velma Season 2 have just shut their mouths about the second season because the first season did so badly. So it means I don't have to read or listen to any interviews. I don't have to sit there and listen to these people talk a bunch of garbage to an interviewer. I can just skip that part, because that's my least favorite part of making videos, is listening to these people just like sit and lie on camera. Like, listening to the filmmakers of Wish was such a soul-crushing experience, having to listen to them just talk the biggest load of garbage you've ever heard in your life. And then the making of, that's why such a large part of that video that I made is the making of. It's just because of how much garbage was said. Oh, thank you, Indigo. Should Reaper Shepherd finish off the Batarian? Should Reaper Shepherd finish off the Batarian? I don't think I ever did. I think I always kept him alive just because I like playing Paragon, because that's like my power fantasy, is that I get to be a good person and save everyone. That's like my power fantasy. Don't they hire writers straight out of college too? Yes, but then at the same time, they did that in the past as well, and it worked out well for them. So I don't think you can focus in on that and be like, oh, that's the reason. Because like Dexter's Laboratory, those like Indy Tartakovsky and Craig McCracken were hired out of college for that. Johnny Bravo, that's a project that came straight out of college. Like, there's a lot of really good things that came from people who were straight out of college. So I don't think that's like a metric for, oh, this is why these things are bad. But I do think experience plays a big part in it. And I think that the people there at the moment, they're unwilling to let the past creators who were in charge of things dictate the younger creators. Like they're just taken out of that position, I feel like. I don't know if that's true, but that's just what it feels like to me. I meant all Batarians. No, because the entire point of Mass Effect, and there's a great speech by Shepard within the game itself, is that it doesn't matter how terrible you may think a singular person is, that person is not representative of the entire race. And even if they were, that doesn't mean it's okay to condemn an entire race of people just because you don't like them. It boils down to everybody should have the benefit of a chance to do better. Like that's the entire core concept of Mass Effect, is that people deserve the chance to be better. Even if they are the absolute worst, they deserve that chance. And that keeps coming up again and again and again throughout the entire trilogy. Like I said, there's an entire speech by Shepard in the third game, where she basically states out the thesis statement herself, where she says, people are messy, awkward, sometimes heartless and cruel, but they're trying, and I'm here to make sure they get that chance. And that's the game. That's the story. I always fear if Johnny Bravo got a modern day revival. One, I don't know how you would do it, and two, I feel anyone working on it would miss the point. Maybe. Johnny Bravo is such an interesting cartoon though. Like it's a wild cartoon. Not so much in how it exists. It's just when you look at it and you kind of break it down to its bones, you're like, wow, they really just decided to make a cartoon like this, didn't they? Hit something in my brain. Oh, sorry, here. Just wanted to do a quick shout out since I saw you were live. Just went through waiting for the results of my cancer test. Oh no. And your videos on Hike Guardian and Velma hit something in my brain that would be tune out anxiety. Luckily, it was a false positive. Your lovely little corner of the internet really helped me out. Much love from Denmark. I'm so glad to hear it was a negative result. I'm very, very happy to hear that. And I'm happy if my absolute nonsense gave you something to focus on instead of like that anxiety-inducing wait for results. Because as somebody who has anxiety themselves, I absolutely get just like the waiting process and just like feeling like you're going to go out of your mind insane, just waiting. It's not even like the results itself. It's the waiting period and the anticipation that kills you quite often. But I'm very, very happy it was a negative. And I'm happy that me talking about a horrible cartoon, thank you, Avina. I'm happy that me talking about a horrible cartoon could help. Thank you, Catharsis. That's really, really kind of you. Avina, do you gonna get a Switch too? By the way, thank you, Super. No worries. I'm not. I've said this before, Nintendo doesn't have much of a presence in my country. They did for a while with the Wii, but then they kind of decided we weren't worth it because we're not a very rich country. So the Switch 2 is probably coming out here, but it'll be to a very limited degree. And also, I just think that for the amount of money they're asking for it and the way that they want to handle games for it, just no. It's fine. I'd rather just play PC games. And there's a certain level of privilege that comes because I don't have nostalgia to make me feel like I'm missing out, or that, oh, that means I won't be able to play Zelda or Mario Kart, because I've never really played those things anyway, because it was just never really a part of this country or the gamer scene or anything really. It's not really part of anyone's childhood here. Like, we don't have that, oh, Nintendo childhood thing. Like, that's just not a thing here. It might be for some of the kids that grew up with the Wii, I suppose. But like Mario, Zelda, these things aren't as deeply entrenched in the culture here as they are in America. So to not get the Wii too because of all the nonsense they're pulling, it doesn't feel like a massive sacrifice. It's just like, okay, well, that's a bunch of bullshit. I'm not going to spend my money on that. I would rather buy a bunch of PC games. Because PC gaming has always been like the biggest thing in this country. And it has been since PC games were a thing. I mean, I remember playing Sid Meier's Civilization 2 when I was a child, you know. So it doesn't feel like a massive, what's the word, sacrifice to just not get one, because you're not really missing out on that, you know. And it's not like, it doesn't like hurt your heart to go without Mario, Luigi, Donkey Kong, all these characters, because they're not as big a part of you as they are to people in like America and Japan and such. And yeah, so no, but I just got my own PC, as I said before, and I'm very excited to play games on that. Super, super excited to play games on that, especially games that my laptop would not be able to run. Like Kingdom Come Deliverance, and it opens up the window for me to play Death Stranding, the God of War, the 2 new ones, and what are the other ones? Oh, the Silent Hill 2 remake, like all of those. I'm very excited for that. Like that's going to be awesome. And also with the PC, with the PC, I can emulate a lot of the things I missed. Not Nintendo things necessarily, but things like PS3 games and PS2 games that never came out here, things like that. So I'm far more excited than that, and I would rather spend the money on a good PC than the Switch 2. Okay, now, there are some interesting Switch 2 titles, but I kind of want Switch 2 so I can try getting into Breath of the Wild again with better load times, or Pokemon Scarlet and Violet to actually work. Yeah, I can see that. Pokemon, I think, does have a bit of a bigger presence in this country, but even then, the Game Boy didn't have a massive release here. It did actually have a release here, unlike the NES or the not the Dreamcast, the GameCube and all of that. But I think most people in this country know Pokemon more from the anime than they do any other games. There's a chance Super Plays will continue. Yeah, I do want to try and get back to the Mass Effect streams if I can get them to work. But they should, because the PC is a gaming PC. I specifically asked for a decent, not the best, but a decent GPU so that I can do my video editing and things as well as game and just kind of have it work better than it has been so far, because any PC upgrade would be an upgrade from my poor little laptops. Do this, and I'm going to throw just some random squiggles behind him so it's not just him sitting in the void. I feel like I really ran my mouth talking about Disney as a whole, but it's a difficult subject to talk about, right? And then I always like afterwards, and it's kind of symptomatic of the entire discussion. After like running your mouth about it, I feel like worried of like, oh geez, I hope I expressed that properly, because if I didn't, somebody's going to clip that and be like, look at all these horrible things she said. She's a bigot. We should cancel her. Like, there's always that in the back of your mind. And that, I think, is just kind of indicative of why the entire subject is so difficult to talk about, because that is how it's designed to be. It's specifically designed so that that's why you don't criticize it. There we go. And like I said, I do have an anxiety disorder, which makes me like second guess the way I express myself, especially on live stream where it's just me talking off the cuff and I haven't had time or a piece of paper to like really think about what I'm saying and like edit myself and be like, maybe I could have expressed this a little better. It's kind of hard not to run your mouth about Disney. I mean, true. The whole situation is just such a bummer now. Yeah, that is true. Sorry, just like it's kind of hard not to run your mouth about Disney. Mood. Let me see. Okay, I do want this like bright, obnoxious neon yellow here somewhere. Do I have a different brush? Let me try this one. Oh, see, there you go. That's good. It's going to make my program chug a little bit, but I like that result. There we go. And then I'm going to just throw some color on the line work. Highlight. Soft. There we go. CPUF cancelled? This streamer went off on a live stream and got cancelled. I do think, though, not to go into the larger topic because it is a bummer of a topic, but I do think people are kind of becoming less trigger happy with, like, quote-unquote cancelling people. Because even though, like, cancelling people still happens, I've seen a few attempts by people to cancel somebody, and then the larger internet was just like, no, this is nonsense. What are you talking about? There's no reason to, like, crucify this person. This just sounds like a personal vendetta you have against them. I'm seeing a lot more of that than I am people just saying, oh, wow, a call-out post. We better believe everything it says. So that's positive, I think. The CPUF situation is insane. That's so awful because I absolutely know exactly, like, the thumbnail style you're referring to with that. And it's always a situation. That's the other thing. It's never like something they said or something they did. It's always a situation. It's like, oh, the so-and-so situation. It's like, why is everything a situation? What's the next live-action Disney film? It was going to be Tangled, but Snow White did so badly they cancelled it. I do know that. Speaking of which, I do wonder if I want to do a video at some point, maybe next year, about the live-action Snow White. But what I would like to do is I would like to go back and forth in the video, highlighting just how awful the live-action Snow White is. And then as I'm talking about it, cut to the making of the original Snow White to kind of illustrate just the amount of effort and time and blood, sweat, and tears that went into the making of the original. But then I wondered to myself, well, lots of people have made videos and making ofs of how the original Snow White was made. So is it, like, really worth the effort? Am I really going to contribute something new to the conversation doing that? But I might do it just because I really enjoy film history and I really enjoy Disney history. So I am considering it. And I might do it, especially because I downloaded a whole bunch of, here we go. I downloaded a whole bunch of, like, interesting photos and things that I could use in the video, and there's some really good ones. Do that. Are you going to crop? Or, okay, there we go. I was about to yell at it. Isn't it Moana? Are they making a live-action Moana? I mean, I can see them doing that, especially because the filmmakers who made Moana, they are still, like very much involved with the studio. The guy who did the live-action remake of Lilo and Stitch actually worked on Moana. Like, figure that one out. How do you make Moana and then make the live-action Lilo and Stitch? Let me grab, like, I got some pictures of Walt for this potential video. Because I also kind of want to present Walt as I'm talking about the original Snow White. I want to present him as, like, a person. Because I really don't like the way that people have, like, turned him into a figurehead. They've kind of, like, really dehumanized him and turned him into a representative of a man rather than just, like, a person. And I don't like that. I would much prefer that we talk about Walt as being a human person, and I feel like a lot of that is lost, especially in, like, official Disney documentaries. Even, like, back in the 90s when they were making documentaries on Disney products, they would really do a lot to dehumanize him and talk about, like, his legacy and what he stood for and, you know, like, things in that nature where it's this level of reverence where it just kind of strips away the humanity. And I don't like that. So I got some photos I found of him, which I'm a big fan of. I'm trying to find some of the good ones. Where are the ones I found that I liked? There's this one, which I like. There's this one. I don't even know what he's doing here. And where's the other one that's really good? Okay, there's that one, but that's not as great. I haven't sorted these yet, so there's like a bunch of concept art just like dumped into this folder. So I have to like sort through all the Snow White concept art to get to the photos. There's this one, which is just him eating a chicken. And there's this one. I don't know what he's doing here. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on in this picture. What is happening here? What is this? Hold on. What is that? Where's my stylus? What's going on here? Is that like a little airplane? Is it a hot dog weenie? What's happening? Please, somebody explain this photo to me. Disney and Repo the Genetic Opera. It looks like he tried to go skiing with Mickey and fell down. Is he stabbing an orange with the hot dog? I don't know. This is like one of my favorite photos because I have no idea what's supposed to be happening in it. I think he's maybe a bank robber. I'm not sure. Where's the other one that's really... Oh, I like this one. This is obviously when they were making Bambi, I think. No, this was quite a bit later. This is probably when they were building Disneyland. So I like that one. That one's nice. And where's my favorite one? Oh, here it is. This is from him in World War II. And let's look at this. That's so good. So yeah, so I've been like collecting photos of him, which aren't like, oh, here is Walt, the founder of the Disney company, and the filmmaker of your childhood, the man who built the park on a dream, you know, like all that nonsense. I'm like, no, here's a dude who made some really amazing movies, and I can't believe the absolute insanity he managed to pull off, because it's just absolutely ridiculous what this man was able to do. And yeah, so it ended with me getting like a bunch of photos that were just like really strange. How the heck do you have a huge smile like that in the middle of World War II? I mean, I think he's 17 in this photo, I believe. No, sorry, World War II, World War I, not World War II. Sorry, I got my dates mixed up. In World War II, he was making propaganda films. No, so this is him in World War I. So this is the first one. So I believe he's in France, I think. He wasn't in like, how do I say this? I don't know military terms. He wasn't a soldier. He was an ambulance driver, if I remember correctly. Yeah, Red Cross driver. So he was a ambulance driver. He wasn't like a combatant. That's the word I'm looking for. He wasn't a combatant. He was an ambulance driver because he lied about his age to serve, because he was 17. So he just changed the number on his birth certificate to make it like 1 year older than what he actually was. And this was at the end of the war. So the war was basically wrapping up already. Yeah, he wasn't in combat. Interesting thing about Disney, some of the pictures he is smoking, they do erase the cigarettes. Yeah, that also drives me crazy. Especially because everybody knows he died from complications that came from chain smoking his entire life. So everybody knows that. So I don't know why you would do that. Because, again, it just kind of feels like a dehumanizing act. It's not as if I'm like pro-smoking or whatever. I just think it's a really shitty thing to do because it's not marketable to show Walt smoking. Right? It doesn't look good for the company. And I'm like, dude, the man smoked. Get over it. A lung cancer. Did I say lung cancer? I think I said lung cancer. Okay, fair enough. If he wasn't a combatant, and that also wasn't unusual for folks to lie about. But still kind of weird to have a weird smile on your face. You'd think so, but I haven't sat down and watched the whole thing, but I've watched clips of it because I find it very interesting. If you watch the documentary They Shall Not Grow Old, where you have the footage of the soldiers in World War I, when they're filming them, very often they would smile for the camera and they'd wave, you know, they would literally be like, oh, hey, look, they're filming, you know, because again, this was like 1914, 1916, 17, 18. A film camera was still like a really, really big deal. So even though you're in an active war zone, the soldiers would very much, well, not active. Obviously, if they were going on in the trenches, they wouldn't because they're busy. But when they're like sitting around having lunch and such, and just kind of not actively shooting, they would smile for the camera, they'd wave for the camera. It's very interesting. Didn't Walt constantly carry an ashtray in his pocket because he didn't want children to see him smoking? Probably. Because the photos I have of him smoking, they tend to be very candid. They are not of him at like, they're not publicity shots. Also, here's him with his mother. This is quite, I'm not sure what year this is, but he looks quite young. So I would say this is maybe the 1930s or so. So there's him. I believe her name was Flora, if I remember correctly. And I just want to, where's the selfie he took with his wife in the 30s? Because that one's really good too. Okay, there's him with Roy. Oh, and here's like my favorite picture ever. I'll show that last. Where's the picture where he took a selfie with his wife? Where is it? Here's him killing a man. Where is the selfie? I know it's here. The problem is it's the exact same color as the concept art, so I'm like scanning and it's just like a giant wall of sepia. There's him with his daughters. There's him on a lawnmower. Where's the selfie? There's him with Shirley Temple. There's his daughter again. There's him with his daughters. There's him with his... No, was Flora his... No, Lillian was his wife. So there is him with Lillian. But where is the selfie? There it is. So there's the selfie he took with Lillian. Here's the thing I don't get. Of all the vices a guy could have that might tarnish their image, the one they try to erase from history is smoking cigarettes. Like what everyone did back then. Yeah, I know, it's like so stupid. It's like I don't understand the need to like to basically power wash all the humanity away. Like I don't get it. Here's him killing a man. What's this? They already tried that in the TV show they made. Quit smoking when I don't know what you mean about that. Whatever you do, don't look up what happened to Flora Disney unless you're ready for the level of justified anger Walt felt towards his father. Oh, I might have to look that up because I'm aware of other stories involving his father. Some of them I want to verify, but some of the shit that I have read about his father has made me like angrier at like a historical... It's made me angrier at a historical person that I've ever been in my life. Which is weird because obviously there are far worse people in history. But for some reason, Disney's father just like infuriates me the more I read about him. Like actual burning anger at this man. And then I want to just end it off with my absolute favorite picture of him. And then I'm going to call it because now I'm just showing pictures of Walt. It's like, here's all the pictures of him. But no, I've been collecting these because I do want to do that Snow White video. Even though I'm not entirely sure whether it would be worth it because there are so many videos and documentaries and records talking about it. Here we go. I like this one. And there are so many documentaries and things talking about the film and what went into making it. And all of that. I don't know whether it would be worth the time, but I might just do it because I want to and because I find it interesting and it's something I enjoy. It might just be one of those. And at some point, I also want to do the Daikon 4 video, but I think I've said this before, I want to do it as like a milestone video because I will probably get copyright claimed on it because I don't really see a way to talk about Daikon 4 without playing Electric Light Orchestra. There is just no way to like present that film in a way where it's removed from the music. And that's why I'm thinking of doing it as like a milestone, because that way it's kind of just like a celebration video to celebrate reaching like 20K if I reach that. So it wouldn't matter as much if I don't make money off of it, even though it's going to take quite a lot of time and research that I would have to pour into it. But that's my like thinking around that concept. Now that's a face. Here's my scrapbook of Walt Disney, and here's him at his graduation. I actually do have him at this graduation. Hold on. Where's his graduation photo? But the thing is, there's context to the graduation photo because he graduated, I think he was in his 40s. He was, no, is that him? Is this him? I think this might be, yes, here we, okay, so he wasn't in his 40s yet. This is the graduation photo. He went back to college after he had already become famous as Disney. And then he got his degree, like, afterwards as an adult, because he left home at 16, and I obviously would have dropped out of school leaving home at 16, and then directly went into like movie production. So he did not have like a degree. So yes, I do have his graduation photo, but again, there's context to it. But I hope you make a video in The Little Mermaid as part of Disney History Videos. Yeah, I do want to cover that. It's a sweet photo. Yeah, there's another one here somewhere, but I like this one. This is obviously a publicity photo, but it's cute, so it's fine. And yeah, this would have to be the 30s because there's no Pinocchio here, and he really liked promoting Pinocchio. Even before it came out, a lot of the publicity shots are actually more of Pinocchio than of him in Snow White, because obviously before Snow White, he was a big name, he was quite famous, but he wasn't this massive superstar yet. So when Snow White came out, a lot more photos came out afterwards. That's also why I kind of went photo hunting, is because, you know, again, looking for photos that aren't publicity photos. I don't want the publicity shots that were done for like Pinocchio and the movies following it, because they're more staged, and there's staged photos before that, like him with Mickey Mouse and stuff. But because it's earlier in time, it's like the early 30s. It's a lot more amateur, so there's a lot more charm to it. It's a lot more fun. It doesn't feel as corporate as the later publicity photos, and you can see that the more you go down the decades, the more corporate the photos become, up until like the 50s, like the late 50s, very early 60s. Because by that time, Disney was so entrenched as like this important figure that he kind of reached the point where he knew he could say basically anything and it wouldn't really matter as much. He's very charismatic when you listen to his interviews and stuff. But he knew he could kind of joke about, oh, well, this film wasn't very good. That film was kind of a disaster when it came up, when it released, because it didn't matter as much. He could joke about it because it wasn't as big a deal anymore. But there's a period like in between that area where it's very, very sanitized, which I'm not a big fan of. But I have to start saying goodnight. And then tomorrow, I am going to set up this PC. It's a very good photo. I really like this one. Selfie. Killing a man. I don't know who this is. That's Davy Crockett behind him. I'm going to have to find out who this is. This isn't Roy. I'm not sure. Him and Flora. There's him smoking. Like here you can see in the background. What movie is this? Hold on. Oh no, this is one of the shorts. Okay. So that's not from Pinocchio. There's him in the war. See here, this would be like the 50s. I think, yeah, these are his two daughters behind him. I still don't know what's going on here. I don't know where this was taken. I don't know what the context is for the. I don't know anything. He's like wearing his. I don't know. I don't know what's happening here. Anyway, there's the chicken, the skiing. See, this was made before Pinocchio and Snow White, so they had like a silly photo shoot, and it's just a lot more interesting and charming to me than like the later stuff. But here we are, back with DK. So, remember to back up your software on a floppy disk. Yeah, I'll do my best. I'll get back to you on that one. Maybe that's what we should call the stream. Maybe Patreon with Donkey Kong featuring Walt Disney. Guest starring Walt Disney. Kind of bummed at how brief it was, but you'll have your hands full adjusting to your new tech up, so I get it. Yeah, it was a little short, 2.5 hours. Well, 2 hours and 20 minutes. I'll give a longer stream next time. Like I said, it's just a little crazy at the moment because I've got my mom. I was helping her all month. I've got the new PC that I want to set up. I'm working on a movie, and I'm hoping to find spare time to finish the Velma video. So it's the weekend, and I'm really tired. Because like even today, not so much work over the weekend, but it was one of my mother's friends' birthdays today. So there was a lot of running around helping her out with that as well. Let me save this because I see I didn't. So yes, I am really run ragged at the moment. Donkey Kong. Here we go. But next time, I will be streaming from my PC like a real gamer. It's got like rainbow lights in it, and like the keyboard lights up, and like the mouse has like different modes that you can switch between. And like, I've got speakers, and I had to pay for all these things. This stream was like other streams when you show Ikuhara's silly photos. Yeah, I've got those somewhere as well. I don't have as many photos of Ikuhara, but it's because I'm not making a video on him anytime soon. I might. That might be a topic worth looking at some point, is like just talking about Ikuhara. Because people kind of know Naoko Takeuchi in terms of Sailor Moon, but I think Ikuhara, he's kind of somebody who falls by the wayside in like the larger anime discussion. Like some people might know who he is, but he's not like Watanabe, Shinichiro Watanabe, sorry, or Katsuhiro Otomo, or like any of those people. He's not like a massive... sorry, people are shouting in chat. What's going on? I said they're finally here performing for you. If you know the words, you can join it too. Oh, it's the Donkey Kong rap. Sorry, I was like, what on earth is happening? What's wrong? It's like, you're yelling the Donkey Kong rap at each other. Oh, okay, I understand. Anyway, point is, I might cover Ikuhara at some point, because I find him and his like, discography, filmography. I find his filmography interesting. I'll need to watch like his latest stuff though. I know his Yuri, his lesbian teddy bear anime is apparently really good. I forget what it's called, but that's basically what it is. And I need to finish Mawaru Penguin Drum. I started it. I think I'm about halfway through it. I like it so far. But I also want to talk about, like, if I'm talking about like anime figures, I would love to talk about Shigeru Mizuki, who I'm a massive fan of. I really love Shigeru Mizuki's work, but he's more of a manga artist than an anime person. Apologize for yelling. I'll keep my voice down next time. No, I was just confused. I was like, what's happening? It's like, no, people are being silly. Relax. Shigeru Mizuki mentioned. Oh, dude, I love that man's work so much. And everything I've seen of him as a person, he just seemed like he was the coolest person ever. He was like so chill and positive and like had such a passion for life. It's so good. I found a bunch of videos on archive.org of him, just like short little 2-minute videos where he's like talking about yokai, and he has like some of his art, and he's just literally, it's like an educational short where he's just talking about Japanese ghosts. And that's the video, and it's just him being very passionate about it. So that would be awesome to talk about. But like I said, in terms of like Japanese content, the next video would absolutely be Daikon 4. Even though I wouldn't make money on it because of Electric Light Orchestra, etc, etc. But I'm gonna say good night. And thank you for hanging out, guys. Sorry, you can tell my throat's dying. I hope it was fun. And what else is there to say? Yokai are fascinating. My favorite is Beto Beto-san. He's the sorry. He's the sandal one, isn't he? He's not the umbrella. I think he's the sandal one, if I remember correctly. Was fun seeing you draw from start to finish. No worries. I don't know. Maybe next time we can draw like Lilo and Stitch. I was like thinking maybe that's something we can do, but I didn't really want to do it this time because I was like, oh geez, I really don't want to talk about the live action one. It's so awful. It's just a terrible, horrible situation that I don't want to talk about. Okay, let me stop the music. The invisible one whose footsteps sound like wooden sandals. Yes, I knew it. That one's really good as well. I really like that one too. I thought we were going to do Daffy Duck next time. We can do Daffy Duck next time as well. We'll see when we get there. But remind me, because yeah, Daffy Duck would be good. Maybe I should watch The Day the World Blew Up in the meantime, finally. And then we can draw Daffy Duck next time. Because from what I hear, that movie is fantastic. Well, obviously, I feel people are probably biased about it, but I don't doubt the movie is fantastic. I have some of the rough animation that I found online for it, and the animation's insane. It's so well done. It's such a gorgeous movie. It's no longer in theaters, but please support The Day the World Blew Up. Please go and stream it or buy it or whatever, because we need more 2D films, and Warner Brothers is one of the worst studios of all time. Okay, bye guys.